welcome people who have been here before, people who have forgotten some of it, people who are new. All of you are very, very welcome. And I think, as I hope you know, and I will repeat it, that everybody is welcome to ask any question. Because I know sometimes people say, I have a stupid question, or I have a silly question, or and I always say, which the people come to my class know that I say, in my mind, there is no such thing as a silly question. Because if you're asking the question, it means you don't know the answer. So sometimes the answer is, I can share with you a document and it's in there and you may not have known about the document or didn't know to look it up. And sometimes the answer is just repeating the answer for somebody who doesn't know it yet. And that's why we're having this class. So I wanted to welcome everybody and start talking about kashering your kitchen, although really it's kashering your home. Welcome, Jeff. And Yaakov, welcome. And is Latoya there too? Or she's going to get, oh, amazing. And you just both can't fit on that little iPhone screen. I get that. It's okay. I want to talk about kashering your home and your kitchen. Obviously, the kitchen is much more complicated than your home. There's not that much kashering to do in your home, but let's talk about everything outside the kitchen before we get to the kitchen. And please, please, please feel free to ask questions as we go along, anything that is unclear or that I haven't covered. The first thing I want to say is the piece of advice that my parents gave me when I made my first Pesach, when, I don't know, second or third or whatever year of marriage. And I was also hosting a seder. And I got this. Anybody who remember the aerograms that used to send?
Oh, yeah, the blue, yes. Light
blue aerogram, those one sheet that folded up and
fold it over, right.
And it made it into an envelope. That was the cheapest way to send mail overseas, and those who were in Israel, like I was. So I got an aerogram from them. When I opened it up, half of this page in very large letters said, "Do not spring clean. Do not spring clean." I cannot repeat this enough. Now, if you want to, that's your choice. But for Pesach, please don't think you have to spring clean. And what happens is, for those who say, oh, I'll take the opportunity, but people have limited amounts of energy, limited amounts of time. You may be working or doing other things that you do with your regular life. So if you want to spring clean, whatever that means to spring clean out every single thing in your home, not sure what it means exactly, but it definitely is over and above what you need for Pesach. And my job, I feel, is to reduce the amount you feel you have to do for Pesach, okay? What I'm going to teach here, and the answers I will give you, are either halachic, meaning they're according to Jewish law. And you might say, but we did this in our home. And I can say, you can do that if you want. But halachically, you don't have to. And if you want to, that's fine. But I'm here to give the halachic answer. And sometimes with Pesach, there's a very strong custom that has almost become halacha, which is not so usual in Judaism, but a really, really, really good example of that is something called kitniot or kitnios, which are legumes, which we'll get into. And actually on Wednesday, we're talking about food. So I'm not really going to talk about food tonight, but all I want to say, if you've heard of it or you haven't heard of it, you will hear of it. Kitniot, that is actually a very, very strong custom, so strong that it has felt like it's law for Ashkenazim. So, but I'm here to tell you what the halacha, and the halacha says you shouldn't have chametz. You shouldn't have chametz. So again, we're going to get into the food on Wednesday, but the chametz is from 5 grains, barley, rye, oat,
wheat,
and spelt, browse, that's the acronym.
Sprout.
So obviously a lot of our food, I mean, I happen to be gluten-free, so I don't have a lot of that food, but most people have wheat or spelt or barley, right? Most people have that. And even I eat oats. So when we come to this time of year, we want to know how to, outside the kitchen, how are we going to kasher our home, make it kosher for Pesach? And then what do we do inside the kitchen? So let's start with outside the kitchen. And I'm also going to be sharing our Kashering Your Kitchen guidelines, which are available on our website, available on our Pesach page, and always accessible for you to look at. Outside your home, outside your kitchen, where might you have chametz? And when I say kitchen, I mean, I have an apartment, so I guess people with homes, houses might have more, but
More rooms.
right, well, not more rooms. I'm saying they might store chametz. That's what I'm
Oh,
saying.
that's true. A
Yeah.
basement, yeah.
Yeah, in the basement or something. Exactly. So outside your kitchen, and in kitchen, I'm including pantry. Pantry for me is connected to the kitchen. So where might you have chametz? So if you have young children, so then you might have to check like the bags they take to school and empty them. We always had to empty our school bags and clean them because you have a
Mhm.
granola bar or a sandwich left over. We all know about those green sandwiches that we pull out of our kids' bags. Or you might store your chametz, right? Whatever chametz is, we'll put that aside right now. We'll talk about more on Wednesday. But you just want to find it and
Before Pesach.
sell it. We're going to talk about selling it. Yeah. This is what you do to prepare your home. So we used to go through in my home all the pockets of the coats. That's something that people can do as well, unless you know that you don't leave half granola bars in your jackets. I mean, but I'm just trying to think of all the places where you might find chametz, actual chametz outside the kitchen and outside your freezer. You might have a freezer or a cabinet in a garage. I have a freezer in the second bedroom, a deep freeze, because there's not enough room.
Your car can be a place.
Good, excellent. Your car, you have to, at the very least, eyeball your car and make sure there's no chametz. Excellent. We actually have like peanut butter. Peanut butter isn't chametz, it's kitniot, but we keep little containers of that. But we also might in their granola bars. That's very possible. Thank you. So the car has to be cleaned of chametz. 1 second, Felice. It's a good idea to also clean it probably once a year, but you only have to clean it of chametz. Yeah, Felice, what do you want to add?
No, I was gonna say, I like to change my vacuum clean the bag. Because
okay, we'll get to that. We'll get to that. There might be chametz, although honestly, that's not chametz.
But that's how you eat.
That's true. Right. But yes, I agree with you. Okay. Now, so everybody understand that that's the chametz outside your kitchen? Are people following that? Because if you have something, yeah. So we have to, if we own chametz, we have to either give it away, like to the friendly fridge, or we'll have to sell it, and we will get to that when we get to food. So you have to aggregate it in one place. You have to know what you have. We have room under the bed in our bedroom because we just don't have enough storage space. So we have a few boxes of things there, and we will have to just go through and make sure there's no chametz there. Okay, everybody with me on that? We're good outside the kitchen. Does that make sense what I said? If you have any question, it's a great time to ask. I mean, you can ask the whole way through. Okay. Now, when we come to the kitchen, so I'm going to share, well, let me give it a background. Our dishes, our silverware, our pots that are used to cook chametz have absorbed chametz in most cases, not every case. In most cases, it actually absorbs the taste of chametz into like you put, the best example I have, I know it's gluten-free, is hot oatmeal. Okay, hot oatmeal is pure chametz. And what we say is if you cooked it in what we hold even glass, if you cook it in, Sephardim don't hold glass. They say glass doesn't absorb, but pots all absorb. And the plates that we eat on, we consider that they absorb. If they're made of utensils, absorb. It absorbs taste in some way, and they become what we call chametz stick. That's kind of a Yiddish way of saying. Yeah. That's a Yiddish way of saying that they're chametz, right? That we can't use these utensils or pots or anything that might have absorbed chametz throughout the year. We can't use them on Pesach unless they can go through a process of kashering them, resetting them to 0, in which case, even if they were meat, they're now parav. Everybody here know what parav is? Parav is non-dairy and not meat. Good. I like that, Gabby. Just keep nodding when you understand to give me the feedback, because most people are off camera. So I can't tell. So if you can kasher it, right? If you can kasher it, great. Then, and you want to, many people put away, close off their cabinet with all their everyday dishes, perhaps silverware, which are easy to kasher, pots, all their chametz stick, what I just said. They just close it off and put it away so that they won't use them on Pesach. And you don't have to worry that the Martin is just going to show us what chametz looks like. This is tortillas. Tortillas are made of flour. He eats gluten. So, right,
That's
but
a
this
good
isn't-
example.
this wasn't heated, so it's not as much of an issue. But we don't watch the other 51 weeks of the year to make sure that no chametz touched or, was absorbed by heat into our plates and our forks and our knives and all of our utensils. Is everybody following me on this? We don't want people to worry about it 51 weeks there. It's pretty much impossible. You really can't
That's one
unless
wish.
you were on a strict diet that didn't allow it. But unless you're that, and you still might have made for somebody else who walked into your house. So because of that, we assume that all the utensils, unless you know for sure. I have a friend who her food processor, she's very careful 52 weeks of the year to only use it for raw vegetables. That's it. Only raw vegetables. She never puts any breadcrumbs in it. Nothing, only vegetables. He basically is keeping it free of chametz all year round. And she's the only one who does it. Her children didn't use it, or they're out of the house, or whatever it is. So if you know yourself that you only use this thing for whatever reason, she just decided to do it that way. And then Pesach, she just has to wash it. But how many of our items are actually like that? Most of our items, we don't keep track of it, and we don't expect you to. So does that make it clear why what we call turn over our kitchen? Does people understand that? Turning over the kitchen means somehow putting away all the things that were out used for chametz. Now, I want to give you an example of something that could be used for chametz that you actually could use for Pesach. And I want people to understand why. Like we have on our counter, we have canisters of sugar, brown sugar, and sweetener, like Splenda. Yes, thank you, Splenda. It's never been used hot. Those items are inherently kosher. For Pesach, there's nothing chametz in any of them. I wouldn't be able to eat them because I'm gluten-free. So it's never cooked and absorbed anything. You need heat or some other mechanism for the chametz taste to be absorbed into the plate or the pot or the knife or the fork. So something like that, if I wanted, I would wash it out. I would empty the sugar and wash it. I would wash it well in case, I don't know, a crumb fell. But once it's clean, nothing was ever cooked in it. It never even held chametz in it. So it would still be kosher for Passover. Do people understand the differentiation? Now, anything that was with a knife can transfer taste. Just think in your head when you cut an onion, which is also sharp, the taste, if you don't wash your knife really well, then that taste is going to stay on the knife and could be transferred to another item. So you need either heat or some other sharp food to transfer taste. So something that never had heat. I'll give you another example. I always used to kasher my Kiddush cups. Now, what do you put in your Kiddush cups? I can tell you what I put in my Kiddush cups. Wine or grape juice. That's it. Wine or grape juice. Wine and grape juice are all kosher for Pesach all year round.
I still change.
But that's okay. That's your choice, Tila.
No,
But I'm giving I'm just giving examples for people who either love their year-round items or don't have money to buy or don't have room or whatever. I'm trying to differentiate between things that either have to be put away for Pesach or have to be kashered for Pesach or don't have to be. So if you have items for Pesach that you love, and if you have Kiddush, because my husband brought beautiful items for Pesach, so why not? We use them for Pesach, but I can still use my Kiddush cup if I want to. That's the point. I'm teaching halacha. Yeah, Felice, you have a question?
no, I was going to just say, like for Kiddush cups, sometimes you're eating challah or something chametz during the year, and then you want to have a little sip of wine or grape juice.
So there might be chametz on it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, because you had been eating chametz.
But is that hot chametz that got absorbed into the wine?
Well, let's say you had some soup. I don't know, something. It could be hot chicken.
If you think that I don't use the Kiddush cup that way. I use the Kiddush cup, I pour off, and then I take it off the table because we don't use a Kiddush cup to drink from. If you think you used your Kiddush cup and you might have had a hot matzah ball in your mouth and drunk it, 100%. 100% that you could. I still would find it very difficult that it would be hot enough to transfer taste. Yeah, Tina.
How about the tea kettle?
Okay, so we're gonna get to that. So I have a file. What do you put in your tea kettle? Let's unpack it here. Let's talk about it here. What do you
Water. Water.
water? Is it possible for chametz to have gotten into your tea kettle?
No.
No. So you know the answer. Like, I mean, the answer is clean it because maybe on the outside it got dirty. So that I agree. What we do, you'll see in the file, like
I have
you'll
a
fill it with
glass.
water, you'll
Yeah.
boil it, you'll empty it out. It's done. It's
Okay.
kosher. Yeah. So that's a great example of something that inherently is kosher for Pesach. Right? It's not like I use my Shabbat and I use my, but I clean them. I clean them on the outside in case something touched. Unless somebody, again, if you put hot oatmeal into your hot water urn, it is now chametz stick. Because hot oatmeal is a great example of hot chametz. So something like that. Yeah, Felice.
Yeah. What about a sugar shaker or salt and pepper shaker?
So we're going to get to that.
In it. Oh, okay.
Correct. Okay, that's a great question. Hold the question.
Okay.
What I like to do is to give the basics so that people understand. I'm always happy for people to ask me questions. But if you understand the reasoning behind it, it'll be easier for you to do it correctly and not have to ask or ask fewer questions just for yourself. I want to empower you for that.
Or tell somebody else.
So, or tell somebody else. Yes, that's also possible. So I'm just saying this is a summary of what I said. Special care should be taken to check into all areas, which, oh no, this is something else. That's about the bedika. Never mind. This is something else. This is about checking for chametz. I don't want to talk about that. Okay, kashering your kitchen for Pesach. Liz, we're going to go through, let me make it bigger. I feel like people here would love it if it's bigger. So 1 second.
Thank you.
Bigger. How's that? Is that good? No, people see it enough?
No, I don't see very.
Do people not see it now? I need some help.
No, I see, but it's hard to read.
It's hard to read.
It's little. It's little.
It's very little, right?
You can make it bigger. You just have to put your hands on it and make it bigger.
Yeah, but
push it out.
It's so funny. I'm showing it at 150%. Are you saying that it was better? That is so weird. This
I
is
see
better?
well. Maybe read it.
No, I will read it, but
Okay, that's
okay. All right.
I have a magnifying glass.
Just technical support. If you want, you can press control, like hold control and press the plus button. It'll let you zoom into that specific web
But
page.
no, I agree, John. But the thing is, I put it on 150%.
No, so that's the program, but you can actually do the web page itself. So you can press control and plus and it'll zoom in even more.
Well, it doesn't work like that, obviously, on the Mac.
Not working?
Not on the Mac.
Oh, it would be the loopy key, like the Windows key. Yeah. Or
It has this. Is this better?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah, better.
Excellent. Okay, great. I just want people to be able to read. Okay, yes, but thank you. Josh says he's a whiz. You can always
thank you.
support. Tech support is always welcome.
Got
Okay.
small again.
So remember what we said, in addition to not using actual chametz products, meaning food, the use of dishes and utensils is not permitted. So we need an extra set for Pesach, okay? Everybody with me on that? Now, why is it important to put away the non-Pesach utensils?
Not to make
The
mistake.
year-round ones. Why is that important to close it and put it behind the door?
Not to make a mistake.
Not to make a mistake, because we're so used to pulling it out of a certain cabinet.
That's right. Mhm.
So we will pull it out without thinking, and we won't really think. Yeah, automatically. So that's why it's so important to just close off the cabinet. The truth is, a very easy way to close off cabinets that have easy handles is just put a rubber band on it. That's what I like to do. But you can also use the blue tape, which doesn't mark anything. That'll be a good reminder for you that you should open that cabinet and use it. Okay. you'll be using them. Okay, no cash. Okay, right. When I just want to tell people something that the food, remember we said chametz that's left, we have to sell, right? We're going to get to that on Wednesday, but we don't sell our dishes and pots. Does anybody know why we don't sell them? You could say, well, it has chametz kind of embedded in it,
Because
Any
we don't
thoughts
want to
about-
tumble them.
What don't
Because
you
we
want?
don't have to, you don't want to have to tumble them again because you're
Exactly.
relinquishing ownership.
Correct. If we sold them to a non-Jew, which is what we sell our actual chametz to, then it belongs to a non-Jew. And then when we buy it back after Pesach, we're going to need to immerse them in a mikvah. Because remember, when we buy utensils that are metal or glass from a non-Jew, then we have to tovel everything. Can you imagine bringing all your pots and silverware and glasses? It would be a little crazy. And it's not necessary. We don't need to do that. There's no problem owning dishes that are clean that we can't use, that we're not using on Pesach. I just want to make sure people understand that. Okay. Let's talk about, everybody good till now? Everybody following what I said?
Yes.
Ask if
Yes.
not. Okay. Now what we're going to do is go through each of the different items in the kitchen and see how we kosher them if we wish to. So we're going to check, do we have to kosher them? Can they be koshered? And if they can, how to do it. That's what we're going to go through. There's something called hag'alah, which basically means boiling. This is based on the halachic principle. By the way, some of you might say when I say things, but that's not true. Real life science doesn't work that way. So you have to understand that halachic reality is very close to our reality, but sometimes scientifically it's not. And as observant Jews, we accept that that's the halacha. Just want to explain that. There's a process called kibol'o, kach polto, meaning the same way the food gets absorbed, that's the same way we're going to let it out. As it gets swallowed, that's the way we spit it out. That's what the words are in Hebrew. So we're talking about a pot, for example, a pot, not a ceramic pot. Ceramic cannot be koshered, but a metal pot. A metal pot, if you cook, let's say, as we said, hot oatmeal, how did it absorb the chametz taste in its walls? Through the boiling, through the heat process. So any metal items like a pot, not a frying pan, but possibly a frying pan, metal utensils like our silverware. If you didn't have Pesach silverware, you can take your chametz and you don't have money to buy it or you don't have storage room, you can clean it, let it sit for 24 hours. You use a pot that has also rested for 24 hours. I want to explain that by the way. What is this thing about 24 hours? Are people familiar with the waiting for 24 hours issue?
No.
It's called ben yomo. Okay, in Hebrew, it's called ben yomo, meaning it's within a day. Yom means day. It's within a day of it being used. So there's a halachic principle that says that the taste that was absorbed is spoiled after 24 hours. Sometimes people ask me a halachic question, and I sometimes say to them, was the pot they make a mistake, they put a dairy in a meat or something like that. And I say to them, was it used for meat, let's say, in the last 24 hours? Why? Because we can rely on leniencies when food was cooked more than 24 hours ago. We say that the taste in it is what's called spoiled. Now, you might say to me, I don't know if scientifically that's true. That's not so relevant, sorry. It is one of the halachic principles because the halacha had to have principles so that we'd know how to kosher. So one of the principles is that you have to wait for 24 hours so that any taste that was cooked into it gets what we call spoiled. So if you want to kosher a metal object, let's just stick with metal right now. You would take a pot that's bigger, and the pot has to rest also for 24 hours so that any taste in it will also be spoiled if there was any. You boil water, and when it's on a rolling boil, you dip, could be utensils, it could be a smaller pot. You don't have to dip the whole pot in at once. You could turn it and do the handle separately, for example. So you don't have to worry that it doesn't fit completely in. You leave it in for a few seconds. And what we say is anything that was absorbed by boiling has now left. It was
I
now
have one
spit
question,
out. Yeah, one
and this
second. I'll do it.
directly
One
related
second.
to it. Do you
One
have to
second.
boil it over? Or no?
Wait, just wait. Just hold on
Yeah.
1 second. To finish the thought, and then we'll talk about it. Who asked that question by you? Who's speaking? Oh, it's Josh. Okay.
Josh,
So what you
sorry.
do is you let it sit there for a few seconds and it boils. Then you take it out and you run it under cool water, and it is presto back to zero. Meaning, if it was meat, it's now parav. If it was with chametz, it's now anything. You can make a Pesach stick. That's just the Ashkenazic word of saying it's used for Pesach, or chametz stick. I just want to know if metal objects, was that clear? If it was absorbed by boiling, which is most pots, as opposed to a frying pan. Frying pan very often is just oil. But if it was absorbed through boiling, then we can let it out, so to speak, through boiling. Yeah. Josh, is that Josh?
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify because I was confused for the boiling of the vessel that you're using to kosher. Is it supposed to like boil over? So that way it's like it has koshered itself, the pot, or is that completely unnecessary?
So no, that was a great question. The way to, okay, let's say you have a pot that you can't fit into a bigger pot. It's big and you want to kosher it. So it's messier. Why is it messier? Because you have to do what Josh suggested, which was that you have to allow it to boil over. Why? Because you need the boiling water to cover the rim of the pot and the handles. So some people, what they do is actually, what you do is you take a screw and you hold it over the fire until it gets very hot. And then you drop it into the boiling water and you make a mess all over the place. But that's only for pots that you're koshering that you can't fit in, that you can't fit into a bigger one, or you don't have, like, HR is going to have that. So,
But if you
You're
have
gonna
a
be
big pot, you have to kosher the pot first before you kosher.
so some say they do, as look what I wrote here. Just want to say, some have the custom to use a Pesach pot or to kosher the non-Pesach pot by filling it with water, heating till boiling and overflowing. But the CRC does not require the large vessel to be a Pesach pot.
You're
So
saying
yeah,
you have to
that's an answer
first,
to
though.
you.
You're saying you have to kosher it first, isn't it? That what you just wrote?
Why do you have to
Right.
kosher it? It's kosher. You mean make it
It's
Pesach?
kosher, but you want to make it for, if it's a chametz pot already.
So that's what, so Thea, again, let me read to you again what it says in what we researched. We researched CRC, OU, OK, and Chaf K, or Star K, whatever is Star K, maybe not OK. I hear OU, Star K, Chaf K, and CRC. And because they're all very, very reliable, we take the most lenient position of all of these. The CRC does not require the large vessel to be a Pesach pot. So you don't have to kosher it.
Okay, wow.
Yeah, this isn't new, by the way. It was there
It's
last
great.
year and the year
Yeah.
before as well. Now, if you want to, if that's your custom, you
Right.
may, but you don't have to. I just want to make it clear what you have to do and what you don't have to do. Okay?
Great.
So that's what I said. The utensils or pots are completely immersed in the large vessel for 15 seconds or so. When koshering, the utensils should not touch each other. Rather, drop them in one by one. Large or long utensils, as well as pots with handles, need not be immersed all at once, but can be done in parts. After koshering, all utensils are rinsed in cool water, and at this point, they are ready for Pesach use and are parav. Any fleshik, bisari, meat, or dairy, chalavi, milchik, is gone from it.
So
Good.
what kind of pots though, can you kosher? I mean, a lot of pots have linings in them today. Non-stick,
Have what in them?
like a non-stick, they're non-stick,
You mean like
or
Teflon?
they're like a Teflon, or or on the outside, they're not, maybe they're painted.
If it's ceramic, you can't kosher it.
Right.
If it's metal, you can, and if it's painted on the outside, if it can withstand the boiling, it's fine.
The
You're
answer.
saying a metal pot that is painted on the outside?
Different color.
Yeah. Is that what you said? Thea? Was that
Yeah,
Thea?
yeah.
So
it's
is
there.
it a metal pot that's painted on the outside?
Yeah, you sometimes get pots that are different color, different.
Oh, different
painted
colors. Yeah, 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 yeah. Now, if it's scratched,
Or they have, and some of them have enamel on them.
so enamel is a little different because enamel, I don't know. I have to look that up.
Yeah.
I don't know. Let me check on that. I'm not sure what enamel is made of. Let's see. I just want to check. Corrine. Okay. So let's hold that off as a question. All right.
Bracha.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I was going to just say that I think it's important. People remember also pots with covers. You have to look up,
Yes. Also the
pot
cover.
cover.
Thank you. Thank you.
welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Maybe I'll add
Very
that.
welcome. Mhm.
Let me just make sure. Where should I put that in? We had the pots and their covers when kashering. All right, I'll add that. I'll add that to the pot. I mean, it was obvious to me, but you're right. It's easy to forget. Okay, I'll add that, the covers. All right. Should we move on now? Move on now? Everybody good with the pot?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
What about the connection between the handle and the pot itself? It's not one
clean it.
unit.
Clean it. Just clean it. I mean, you don't, if you poured boiling hot oatmeal, as I said, on that, you just have to dip it in anyway, right? So what's the difference?
No, I just didn't know if it's not a,
No, I don't disagree with you. I'm just saying the same way it absorbed it, it'll let it out. Same thing, but you have to get it in there. Yes. You have to get the connection in there somehow. I agree with you. Every part must be.
okay.
Okay. And again, this is only if you want to kasher. If you have Pesach pots, you don't need to kasher. Okay, let's talk about glasses. Drinking glasses that were only used for cold drinks can be cleaned well and used for Pesach. The same goes for glass or plastic pitchers and Kiddush cups that have been used only for grape juice or wine or other cold beverages. Everybody with me on that? It used to be a thing to something called me'et to soak them for 24 hours, change the water and soak them in. Remember that?
My father had this huge bin just used for Pesach, for the glasses. That
Yeah, what'd you
to,
say, Thea? Yeah, I heard you, Thea. Thank you.
You
What'd
do
you
it
say?
for 3 days. You change the
For
water.
3 days, you
Yeah.
change the water in the middle.
Yeah.
So I don't do that anymore.
No, I don't
I
either.
mean, I happen to have
It is
glasses
we
for
do this.
Pesach. But if you don't have enough room or you don't have
Yeah.
glasses for Pesach,
Yeah.
take your
I don't
glass
do it.
glass.
But in Israel,
Your
we
glass
used to
glass.
do it.
Use paper cups.
Well, that's a separate issue, Felice. If you have everything new or paper, then you don't need to hear this. But I'm talking about people who reuse their everyday things.
Oh, okay.
Everybody
Well, what
wants to use
about-
paper cups.
What about things that have gone into your dishwasher? Glasses gone into your
Not a
dishwasher.
problem. It's not a problem
It's
because
hot.
there's soap in it and it's not hot chametz that's cooking in it. It's not a problem.
Right.
A dishwasher.
If it only had cold drinks, you can just wash it very well and it's kosher for Pesach. Cold drinks only.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
Fire glass like Pyrex. I think this only works glass showing up as that. Or our Kolak, I don't know what that is, and Corel. We do not have the practice of kashering oven tempered glass. So Pyrex or Visions are not usually kashered. Although some people today say if it can be cooked in boiling water, if it can be dropped in, it's okay. So you have to ask if you have something very, very specific. Fire glass that goes in the oven or microwave can be, I don't know what the difference is. Oven tempered glass and fire glass, it doesn't mean anything to me. But if you need to know, then you have to know if it's fire glass. And again, it's only if you want to kosher it. You might just want to buy new for Pesach and keep it forever. Glass Pyrex that has not been used for hot food is similar to the cold drinking glasses. Plastic items, if melamine plates or plates like that, if they can withstand the boiling, you can kosher them plastic. You can kosher them by dropping into boiling water. Again, hard plastic storage containers, the same. But a lot of the single-use plastic will melt, and therefore you
Mhm.
cannot kosher them. So I don't love koshering plastic ones because it's so hard to clean them well, and they're not so expensive to buy.
That's a bar, right?
Silverware and small cookware. Did somebody else have a question that I didn't answer? I just want to make sure I answered everybody. Okay. Silverware, smaller pots, and metal. Wait, let me write here. And metal or hard plastic utensils may be koshered through Hagala. Even utensils with handles, this was your question, Thea, as long as the material can withstand boiling water. Cutco knives, once clean, may be koshered through Hagala. I learned about Cutco knives, my mother-in-law.
What is
Okay.
a cutting knife?
Look it up. It's a, I don't know, it's a brand name that people love.
Cutco.
I said Cutco, didn't I?
I think you did. I'm not sure.
Oh, Cutco, C-U-T-C-O. They see it on the,
Oh, okay, sorry.
here. It's actually, okay. Large pots and kettles. So yeah, this is what I said before. And again, a kettle, unless it had something I don't even know why a kettle would need to be if it only had water. So again, you have to force the water to spill over the rim. You can cover the pot with a cover, and that also makes it boil over, but it can cause the burner to go out, will need to be relit. Please be very careful because that's dangerous. All right, now, what if you're talking about broiler baking or roasting? They are not made chametz through boiling with water. They're made, remember what we said, in the way it absorbs, that's the way to let it out. They are used in a non-liquid cooking process. So you actually have to fire them. And basically, this is talking about the oven. If you have a self-cleaning oven, you can place the broiler rack in the oven while it's on. Alternatively, you can put it into an oven set on its highest setting for 30 minutes. But here's the problem with it. It can't always withstand such heat. My oven in
30
Israel, when I
minutes.
bought it, I bought extra racks and I used them for Pesach, and that resolved that issue for me. But, or you buy, disposable, I guess, or if you can buy other ones, but they can't be koshered through the boiling process because that's not the way they became chametz. Like if you use them for cookies, right? That's a good example. You make cookies made out of any of the five grains, yeah. Okay, so here's a similar problem with the frying pan. If a frying pan is primarily used with oil, not just spray, it can be koshered through light heating. After cleaning the pan, it should be heated to it. Well, you can see here. You heat it to a high temperature. If it'll break the pan, it actually can be koshered through boiling. But you can see the instructions, and you can see these instructions on our website. But know that it's very different to kosher a frying pan or pans for the oven. Not as simple as dropping silverware into boiling water. Everybody with me on that? Now, there's a big difference between burning things through libun, firing, it's called firing. There's a big difference between that and boiling to kosher things. What's the big difference? For koshering things by boiling, you have to wait 24 hours because you have to allow the food inside to be spoiled, the taste. But when you burn something either in the oven or by heating it very high, it actually burns the chametz inside. So you don't have to wait 24 hours because it's going to be burnt to a crisp. Does that make sense to people? There's a reason for everything. Okay. These are items that cannot be passed over kosher: china, pottery, earthenware. Oh, here you go, porcelain. There you go, Thea. Treated glass, Pyrex, Corningware, Visions, and the like, and decanters for storing whiskey, because somehow the strong whiskey can actually absorb. So, countertops. All right. I just watched the video by Rabbi Linzer, and I'll put a link to it here. And he says very clearly that, okay, let's talk about countertops. Who here covers their countertops?
Yep.
Okay. Who here koshers their countertops and then covers it? Who
I
here
thought
just, who here just koshers their countertops? Okay. Rabbi Linzer explained really clearly something that makes so much sense. How do you use your countertops? Do you use them for pouring boiling hot chametz on it? Do you use your countertop for pouring food on it? No, really, I'm not trying to be facetious. I'm trying to contextualize it. If you ever poured boiling chametz on it, it would only be by accident. I don't know anybody who pours boiling hot oatmeal on their countertop. It's only if it boiled over, right? So the whole science and logic of why you have to kasher your countertop, first of all, most countertops cannot even absorb because they're made out of this material that doesn't absorb. A. B, it's not used for cooking. It's used for putting your pots down. And your food cannot jump out of the pot, heat to a boiling point and get absorbed into the countertop. And then you're going to put Pesach thing on it. Like, it just doesn't happen. So the science and the reality of it is that you don't probably even have to kasher countertops. However,
but the thing is, I mean, if you're putting on something that's more than Yad Salet bow on there, okay, it's something hot.
most people don't do that. They're going to put on but even if it is it's the food on the inside, not the outside. Your food cannot jump from inside your pot to outside the pot.
by
Also,
itself.
who
No,
puts
but
a
I'm saying, would it
burning-
affect?
Wait
no,
a
but it would
second.
affect-
One second. And you put it usually on a trivet. I mean, you can't, you'll break your countertop, honestly. But yeah, so
you won't. But anyway, I'm just saying that if you put a chametz, a place to take a dish down on a counter that has been used, that has had.
you're saying you put a boiling hot dish, right? That's what you're telling me? A boiling hot dish?
Yeah, you put,
Boiling
if you
hot
take something
dish.
out, if you take a dish out of the microwave,
Okay,
a lot of times the dish is boiling hot, right?
Great. Okay. And you're saying that food was absorbed into the countertop and somehow came out of the countertop into the outside of your dish and jumped into the food. Do you see what I'm saying? There are too many.
Right, okay, right. But I mean, isn't it
Things to happen.
I don't know, but
please.
isn't it
Hold on one
even,
second.
you know, but isn't it even if you have like a meat dish next to a hot milk dish and they're touching each other, then doesn't, and they're
No. If they touch each other
They're
on the
hot?
outside, nothing
And they're
happens.
hot?
If they spill, if the food jumps into the other one, yeah. It's not going to trafe it up just by touching.
Okay.
And anyway, we're talking about countertops. We're not talking about two pots. We are talking about countertops. What is the reality of countertops? We don't use them to cook food. So it's very important to remember that. Now, the Ramah does have a chumrah, meaning astringency, because often there are stringencies associated with Pesach, but it's a stringency, meaning that's not the basic law. That he says you should kasher your countertop. How do you do that? Either by pouring boiling water over it or having a steamer. I happen to have inherited a steamer. So I just use a steamer, which is just way easier than pouring boiling water, which gets all over the place. But if it'll break your countertop, Rabbi Linzer paskins very clearly, and I will put the link in, you don't have to do it. You don't have to do it. And you definitely don't have to cover. You want to cover, that's your choice, but you don't have to. And it like all gets yucky underneath and it's like hard to use. Clean it. And he says, if you want, take something caustic and clean it. So any food that theoretically somehow jumped in and then jumped would for sure get ruined.
I learned from Rabbi Maruf, he used to be one of the rabbis in the Sephardi Minyan years ago, that if you're a Sephardi, you do not need, they don't need to cover their counters. They have a different rule on.
Well, luckily, Ashkenazim don't have to either. It's just, it's something that evolved over time because also the materials evolved over time. Everything changed and people took a hard look. Like Tila said, I'm going to use my Kiddush cup for Pesach. Okay. And I used to do the 3 days of the glasses, but I don't do that anymore because you actually don't have to. Now it could be because glass got better, but it actually, cold drinks cannot, unless it's, again, we said the storage decanters for whiskey is different. That is pure chametz in the whiskey. And it's strong. The alcohol allows it to somehow be absorbed over time. But when you pour drinks in, even cold beer, it can't, again, unless you sat and it was, absorbed in it. But it doesn't absorb into the glass. Now, you could have special Pesach glasses. I'm talking about if you want to kasher, if you want to use your everyday one. I know it feels heretical, but people used to also cover their the shelves in the refrigerator. But the shelves in the refrigerator never have hot oatmeal poured on them unless by accident, and it gets cold right away, and just clean it. It's not going to jump into your food. And actually, at least it used to be, you're not supposed to cover the shelves in the fridge. It's not good for the circulation of the air.
Right.
Okay, so that's countertop. Refrigerator, freezer. So again, your refrigerator and freezer is not used for cooking food. So clean it well. You want to clean it. If you're selling some chametz or you have kidney oats in there, we'll get to that. Mark it well and put it in the back. Like, we're going to end up selling some of my gluten-free rolls because it's almost impossible to get them after Pesach. So if I don't finish them, I'm not going to give them away because they're like gold for me, but I'm going to clearly mark them and write chametz and close it so I don't even see what's inside. But the actual refrigerator and freezer does not need covering. It's not good for them. It's not good for the fridge and freezer. Just clean it well. That's all.
Right, great.
Last Pesach, I treated myself. I had a used deep freeze that got so full of ice, which is so hard to clean, that I dreaded every time Pesach and Rosh Hashanah, which is approximately, and I bought myself a frost-free, and that was worth every penny. And now to clean it, I just wipe it out. Nothing gets cooked in there. I mean, if you're not a clean person, sorry, I don't need to say that. Let me say it better. If you don't consistently clean, it could be this gook in there, but so it might take time. And by the way, I never recommend doing that the night before Pesach. You're so tired. You have so much going on. Clean it well 2 weeks before. Imagine you had a new fridge and freezer 2 weeks before Pesach. How dirty is it going to get by Pesach? A little wipe, you're done. So make it brand new 2 weeks before, feel brand new, clean it. And then when Pesach comes, you'll just have to wipe a little bit. That's a pro tip from somebody who made a big mistake to clean her fridge and freezer the night before Pesach and was up until 3 a.m. the first year. I learned my lesson.
Cool.
And I'm always happy to share pro tips. Okay, moving on, stovetop. So this already is different. Here is where you do cooking. All parts of the stove and stovetop must be well cleaned. After cleaning thoroughly underneath everything, the drip pans, everything, if it's gas, the burners are kosher by turning them on high for 5 minutes. 5 minutes. Grates can be flipped and left in place over a lit burner for 20 minutes. It takes more time to fire it. Or they can put in the oven, which was being cleaned, or for 20 minutes at 4. That's what I do. 420? I thought it was 450. I think that's a typo. I think it's 450. This is a lower set heat than kashering the oven. And that's called libun kal, which is light firing. That's basically what I usually do. Electric stove top. Everybody with me on this? Remember, it got chametz stick by burning, so we unchametz stick it by burning. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Awesome. Love that. We're still recording, right? Yeah. Electric stovetop. The burner of the stove should be turned on high for 35, 40 minutes. No need to cover the grates. I think it's dangerous. Now, in general, this is something that we're pretty careful.
One thing, electric stovetop doesn't take 35 minutes to get it glow red hot.
I have no
doesn't-
answer for that. This is what I
Burner is
would,
only, a few minutes. It becomes red hot. That's not correct.
that's a great question.
Not correct.
So let me check on that.
It would be more like your gas burners, your gas grates would take a lot longer.
No, I said 20 minutes for that.
No, but you have the burners for the gas grates you had high for
No,
5
no,
minutes.
the burners are 5 minutes, but the grates are 20 minutes.
Oh, the grates.
These are right there, right? So let me check on that. I did not know that. I mean, this is something that I took from somewhere, but I'm definitely going to check. Thank you, Thea.
I used to have an electric stove top. I grew up with it.
You do have, or you
Uh,
don't? You
Huh?
do.
I grew up, I know, I grew up, as a child with electric.
Right, so I don't know why it said 35, 40 minutes, but thank you for saying that. If food falls on the stovetop during Pesach, it should not be eaten. We're very careful about that. It's generally a healthy principle, that's true, but we're more careful on Pesach to be careful that something that didn't get quite koshered well, or might have had food from during the year and absorbed the taste. It's very hard to actually kosher that little piece. You have to like fire it, I think, with not the piece, the metal underneath. So just don't eat it. Don't eat food that falls out. That we're careful about that. We do not recommend to cover your stovetop with tinfoil. It is actually proven to be a danger.
Huh.
So don't recommend it. So clean it, fire it well, and if any food falls, don't eat it. How much is going to fall? A tablespoon. You'll live without a tablespoon. Trying to be logical about it.
Rabbanit Bracha, what about, why
Yeah.
is it dangerous to use aluminum foil?
Because
what
it has been
reason?
known to light on fire. It's been known to catch on fire.
Oh,
It's just, and it moves around. You can never get it to exactly right. It's just, so many
I've
things
never
that
had a problem. Yeah.
I never had
Yes,
a problem either.
I just want to say,
Oh.
and it's not about you. People said that, and it's not the same thing, but people said for years, I never use seatbelts. Really, people really said this, and nothing happened. Okay, that's great, but that
Right.
doesn't mean it's not a danger. And if you
Right.
don't need to, why would you do it?
Mhm.
Like, what's the reason to do something that could be dangerous?
Right. That's right.
I've
Would
actually
you
put,
eat,
I
would,
actually
would
have
you eat food?
I've actually put tinfoil over on the top of a grate, just like when
But why?
koshering it, to help
But why?
kosher it.
Instead of koshering, that's easier for
No,
you?
no. While I'm koshering it, just so that the heat will spread, it will melt. What it will do is it will melt the tinfoil.
Okay,
Not
I
catch
cannot
fire.
recommend that. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I cannot
Okay, I'm just telling
recommend.
you, I've done.
I
Thank
cannot
you.
recommend melting. If you have your way of doing things, I don't know what that is, but melting tinfoil or catching on fire, we
Okay.
want to be careful to be
Don't
as
take the
safe as-
chance.
And the fact that you never had a problem is awesome.
It was the
I
first
cannot
time.
recommend that to people, especially since it's not
Okay.
necessary. I choose to err on the side of caution and of safety. That's really, really important. Alicia, you have a question?
No, I'm agreeing.
Oh,
Safety.
you're agreeing. Thank you.
I have,
Elise,
have
you have a
a quick-
question? Yeah.
yes, a quick question. I have special grates for Pesach, but so I want to know about kashering what's underneath the grate. No, the
What's
burner.
underneath the grate?
No, I'm saying the burner would have to be.
No, we
kosher,
said the
right?
burner 5 minutes on high. Here, let
Okay.
me show you in the file, which all of you will be able to see the file. It's on our website. It's on our Pesach page. Here, the burners on the stove. No, that's electric. Burners are koshered by turning them on high for 5 minutes. You see that, Felice?
Yes, the first thing.
And you have grates, so you don't need to kosher. Just put your grates away.
Mm-hmm.
And what I'm saying to you, Thea, if you're not going to eat food that falls on the tinfoil anyway, then why put tinfoil? Then just don't eat food that falls on the stovetop. That's the way I see it. Okay.
Keep
Now
the
this
stove
special,
Clean.
what'd you say?
No, I said it keeps the stovetop clean, if nothing else.
So you do that all year round, you're saying?
No,
Oh,
no.
yeah.
Then why do it for Pesach? I really am asking. I'm not trying to be difficult. If you don't do it 51 weeks of the year, why do it
Just in
during
case-
Pesach?
Just in case, I guess it's just in case I drop, put a dish down on the stove or something
But
like
don't
that.
you put a dish down on the grates, on the spider things? Like, why would you put it underneath? I'm confused.
Well, it's not underneath because the old stoves, you have a big piece of metal in between the grates.
Right. Yeah.
It's not like the grates you have on the newer.
So you're
stoves that they
saying
have
you're going to
grates
put
on.
a boiling hot, but it's on the outside of the pot. It's not going to make it come at stick.
What about plates? Put a plate
Wait, we did plates already. We spoke about that.
No, plates on the stove is what.
I don't know
Plates on
what
the
are
stove.
plates. Show me what
No,
that
that
looks.
you, she means that if you put a plate in between the burners on the stove,
But
Right,
a hot
right,
plate.
well, you might put hot things into the plate.
Right.
But then,
Yeah,
but the plate, 1 second, but the cold plate is what's on the stove. So how can anything transfer if there's food on top And the plate, it's like, let's be logical. The food, nothing can jump.
No,
from-
but I wouldn't want the plate, the stove is getting hot underneath. You wouldn't want to put the chametz plate
Right.
on the hot stove. It's
So
still
don't
hot.
do it. What
Really
chametz?
hot.
Chametz plate
If
or
you-
Pesach?
No, I mean, if you had
The
a
Pesach
Pesach
plate.
plate on the stove top, because the stove top, you don't want to put anything on the hot stove top.
But you don't
I
want to do
know.
that anyway. Nothing to do with Pesach.
No, normally you, right? Yeah.
No, I don't understand. A plate, you're saying you take a plate like a dinner plate and you put it on
Like
the
a
hot
dinner
stove?
plate, another pot,
So if it's
serving-
hot enough, if it's hot enough and boiling enough, it wouldn't crack your plate?
No, but
if it's
if
not-
it's hot, or if you have the stove oven on underneath the stove, it gets
Correct. And you're saying it's so hot, it gets like you couldn't touch the plate, like 350?
you couldn't touch the stove.
No,
Couldn't
the
touch the
plate we're
stove.
talking about.
Well, if you put the hot food in it, yes.
Yes, but you're putting kosher food, Pesach food in it. Like,
But if the stove's coming from underneath hot, because otherwise, why would it matter?
I
if you dropped your food
understand,
on the
but
stove?
no, I understand.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
let's say it's hot. Where's the chametz gonna mix with the Pesach? I'm not following. I really am not. I don't understand.
Okay. No, okay, I don't know. I just think that
Just don't
putting
put your
some-
plate on the stove.
So don't put your plate on the stove. with
Stove
Pesach.
for one
I don't know.
I mean, I don't
You know
usually-
what?
always-
Take
Yeah.
a piece of tape and put it on it to remind yourself if you're so used to doing it. But
Right.
I mean, you'd have to have such an unusual circumstance. I can't even kind of imagine it. I just can't
Okay, you
imagine
don't
the
know,
circumstance.
I don't know, okay. It's just all the old stoves. You have a whole center
No, I
area, but
understand
you
that,
cover-
Thea. What I'm
so, right,
saying is,
but you
you're
wouldn't put the
talking
food
about-
directly
Thea.
onto the stove. Yes.
Thea,
You're-
you're saying that chametz food got absorbed into the stove pot and you cleaned it and you cleaned it with something caustic. And then you put a plate and put Pesach food. Like, there's no way for it to work. It just can't happen.
Oh,
You're suggesting that chametz will mix with Pesach. It's impossible.
okay.
Who puts a
But that's-
plate?
Yes, it's
You
Pesach
can't
already.
jump over the pot, guys, and get inside.
That's
Who puts
Pesach
a plate in the
already.
stove?
Pardon?
You know,
put it
what, Thea, let's
down-
do it separately if you're really worried about it. I don't know what you're worried about, but okay. Kashering, so there's an issue is with this, the Corning or halogen glass, those are hard to kosher. Mostly you just have to heat it and just be careful not to have any food that spills on the stovetop. There's nothing else to do. What do you do with an oven? You clean every part of the oven with the cleaning material, and then a visual inspection, make sure there are no grease spots or anything else. You have a self-cleaning, you can do it, or it can just be run for an hour on a high heat. And if you leave the racks in, then they get koshered. If you have a self-cleaning oven, it can be run. Oh, it can be run for an hour. If you don't, I don't have self-cleaning on my oven. So you can just run the oven on its highest setting for 30 minutes. That's all. Easy.
Just a quick question about the oven. I have steam cleaning on my
There you
oven.
go. Look, Janet.
So, oops.
Janet, look
Yep,
what's on the
I just,
screen.
thank
The
you. I'll
steam
just
cleaning
run it.
setting cannot be
Got it.
used. And we now know why. Because the same way it got chametz stick, you have to undo it.
Right. Yep, got it. Thank
Convection
you.
microwave. So convection microwave are similar to regular ovens, well cleaned, run on the hottest setting. Okay. And you can read more about the gender. Microwave ovens, clean the microwave, let it stand unused for 24 hours. What I do is I put a piece of tape on it with the time. Otherwise, I never remember. It's always worth it to start a couple of days ahead of time in case you forget. So you have to reset. You cannot kosher a microwave on Pesach itself, only before. And you have to put a microwave safe glass of water. Then I do use usually as a disposable one for 7 to 10 minutes. You have to cause steam to fill the inside. And then you have to wipe the surface and move the cup over because the place under the cup didn't get koshered.
Right.
Dishwashers. What we say, you have your custom, do what you want, but you'll see that we paskin that you can use it. And you can follow these instructions about letting it wait. You inspect it for food. You run it with some real soap, not green soap, which could be edible. And then you can use it for Pesach. but you have to, it says turn off the sensor setting. I don't know anything about that. I don't even have a dishwasher in my apartment, but I would make it Pesach thick if I had one. Stainless steel sinks are great because they can be kashered by using
Right.
only cold water for 24 hours, then pouring hot water. But you have to remember, so my pro tip for that is to take a plastic bag and put it on the handle. So it'll remind you every single time not to turn on the hot water. Okay, you have to know when, like if this year you have to do it by Friday, so I would start Wednesday or Thursday to make sure I get the 24 hours. Okay. If you don't, here I put in the tip, porcelain sinks cannot be kashered. Remember we said porcelain can't be kashered. So you have to put in a sink insert, which get kind of gross, but what are you gonna do? Urns and electric kettles. If the urn was used only for hot water, it can be kashered for Pesach. Clean it well, run it through with boiling water and let it out. And it, you know, you can pour boiling water just on the handle. And you can read anything else. If it was used to heat challah, that's a little more complicated. Kettles, again, kettles on the stove, because they might have been splattered, they have to wait 24 hours. That's the only reason. Whereas an urn sits by itself on the countertop, and then you do the same thing. You fill it with water and heat till boiling. Now, a plata, an electric hot plate, it's not exactly a kashering process, but does allow to use any type of year-round plata, clean well. This is my personal tip that I came up with. Leave unused for 24 hours. Obviously, you have to clean it. And on Pesach, always use an extra tin underneath. That way, anything Pesach that can never touch a surface that was used for chametz. It is not recommended to cover a plata with tinfoil. It has been known to catch on fire. It is dangerous. Do not eat food that falls on an uncovered, unkashered plata. Metal blech, so some people have that. They can be kashered by leaving it unused 24 hours, placing it on top of lit burners. Warming drawers. So again, you have to read what it says here about a warming drawer. We are in the standard Pesach guide, doesn't say this, but you can clean the drawer with something that renders any chametz inedible, like whatever, what do you call it? The scouring powder, or like, I don't know what else, something that's that's caustic a little bit, not enough to ruin it. Leave it unused 24 hours, run it on its highest setting, 45 minutes to an hour. You can put down a layer of foil. It's similar to what I said about putting an extra layer. Barbecue units, those can also be, the whole barbecue unit has to be well cleaned, including the inside, the hood, the knobs and levers, so no pieces of food are left. Place them, and anyway, you can read what you do. And I know there are people who have barbecues and they like to do that on Yom Tov, because you could theoretically do it on Yom Tov when you're allowed to cook. Must be well clean, all parts fired for an hour, but you have to check some of the briquettes, that how you pronounce it, use chametz paste as a binding agent. So you're not allowed to use them on Pesach itself, but people can use disposable barbecues if you're willing to. And next, mixers, blenders, food processors. Food processors and blenders can be used only if you can fully clean all the components. Mixers are very hard to clean. Flour goes inside all the little cracks. Very difficult. So I don't recommend it if they have exposed. I happen to have had a mixer in Israel, Bosch, I think it was Bosch, that had no exposed parts. You could clean it. There was no, flour could not get inside. So that one, I just had a different bowl for Pesach. It was great. But you can kasher the metal pieces individually through hagala, through boiling. Everybody got that for the blenders, food processors, and mixers? Mixers just have exposed engine parts or fence which allow flour. I don't think you should do it. I do not recommend it. Just get a handheld one or something, but you can ask if you have a question. So baby utensils, if the formula is chametz, then, you need new bottles and new formula for Pesach. Babies can eat kidney oats. Soy-based formula is fine. You can wash the utensils that are used for kidney oats in the same sink, but you don't want to do it at the same time that you're washing your regular utensils, okay? You want to do it separately. If the year-round bottles were used for kidney oat were washed, they should be kashered with like, okay, you can read about that if you need it. A high chair, tray, booster seat, all you have to do is clean it and don't use it for 24 hours. It didn't cook the food, but you want to make sure that any food on it was spoiled, as we said. Coffee makers. So I have a Keurig, all types made of metal, glass, or plastic, including French presses, Keurig machines, coffee grinders. You wash and clean all parts, run through the machine with just water until the water is clear. Clean the inside of that cleans the inside of the machine, let it sit 24 hours. Anyway, you see what you need to do to pour things over it. Again, this file will be available is available. If you know, which I know about my machine, that I only use regular unflavored coffee, I don't even have to boil it. I just have to clean it and run it through once with water because unflavored regular, not decaf coffee is inherently Pesach-ic.
Right.
Showing the rest of your home. This is what I said at the beginning. Oh, you're going to love this one, Felice. The most important thing to remember, dirt is not chametz. Cleaning for Pesach is not spring cleaning. The entire home should be vacuumed. Check for chametz in any places where food is eaten, under couch cushions, in handbags and school bags, purses and pockets. We assume that any food that has fallen on the floor behind a bed or desk or bookcase is not edible. So you could clean it, but if you don't, it's okay. Remember to empty the vacuum bag or cylinder throwaway garbage bags that have chametz in Pesach. And you want to probably nullify the chametz in the garbage bag by spritzing bleach or throwing it away in a municipal bin so it's not considered part of your possession. Now,
Well, in an apartment house, you have like an incinerator or chute. That could be done.
okay, whatever.
Yeah, and the fact you're talking about that's a private house when you have your own.
Whatever, even me.
Yeah.
And yeah. Okay, so any questions that I did? Yes, Janet.
I just want to make sure I understand. So the only chametz that I have is flaxseed meal. And if I don't finish the bag, it needs to
Wait,
be
we're going to
kept-
talk about that on Wednesday on the food thing.
Oh,
we
no,
didn't
no,
talk
no,
about
because you
food.
talk. Oh, no, no, no. You had talked about putting the chametz that you sell in the back of the refrigerator or the freezer. Is that correct?
Unless it doesn't need to be refrigerated. Yeah.
It does. It does.
Oh, yeah, yeah. So you just put it in a closed bag and you
Yeah.
your flaxseed is chametz, not kidney.
I thought flax was, but
So we're going to
maybe
talk
not.
about that on Wednesday.
Okay,
I don't remember.
that's
It's in our,
okay.
yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you.
The point thing is that you don't see it. What?
You were talking about outside of your house or
No,
not in your
in your
kitchen?
house. Yeah.
Or you said your car.
Yeah, your car.
Or
Yeah.
about your office. If you work
And your
on-
office, yes,
if you
also
work
your
on
office.
Pesach.
Any place, if you work on Pesach, that's true. You have to sell. That's also true when you sell. You need to keep in mind any place you might have chametz. Your car, your house, any place that you own. In the word, your office.
Your boat.
Yeah, and you have to search your office for chametz. I'm assuming you probably bring food to your office. So you have to make sure there's no chametz there. Your boat. Thank you, Martin. Anybody here have a boat? Not relevant.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions? Thank you, Janet. Please come back on Wednesday for food related questions, but any questions, something that didn't feel so clear or it wasn't, crystal clear in your mind? Do you feel like you have a better feeling for how to get your home ready for Pesach?
I did it all before.
Yes,
Great.
you did it.
All right.
You did a great job.
Oh, thank you. All right, my friends. It usually takes an hour and a quarter, no matter how much I try to keep it to an hour. All right. Please come back on Wednesday to talk about food items, what you need to do with them, which foods are which. And there's always a lot of questions. There's also a WhatsApp group. People are welcome to join it and ask any questions that they wish that are not in our files, because we did put a lot of information in the files as well. And thank you for coming on. Those are
Thank you.
watching the
Thank
recording.
you.
Glad we can offer it. Thanks, Yaakov.
Thank you. Good
Bye-bay.
night.
Good night.
Night.
Good night.
Thank you.